and today I'm going to be making cookies. I'm going to be making those big chocolate chip cookies you see at the bakery style chocolate chip cookies. They're absolutely fantastic. This is a great recipe. I think you're going to enjoy it. So let's get started. Our ingredients are really simple. This is a very simple cookie to make. We're going to need about a teaspoonful of orange zest, 2 eggs. I've taken baker's chocolate. You can use chocolate chips if you prefer, or a bar of dark chocolate. I've taken a bar of dark chocolate and I've chopped it up into nice big chunks. I like those big. This is a big cookie, so a big chunk goes well with it. A cup of butter, a tablespoon of orange juice that I just used the juice from the orange that I zested. 1 1/4 cups of sugar, 3 cups of flour. And what I have here is I've mixed up my salt, my baking powder, and my baking soda. So you're going to need 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I've mixed that all up in here, and I'm going to mix that up with my flour. And some vanilla. I'm going to start by taking our butter that's been softened. This has been softened to room temperature. And we're going to add our sugar to that. These cookies are really easy. You don't even need a mixer to make them. We're going to cream together the butter and the sugar. Once you cream your butter and your sugar until they're mixed in and nice and soft and creamy, you're going to add your eggs. And we're going to beat them in with the sugar and the butter as well until that's a nice creamy mixture. You can use a fork, a spoon, a wooden spoon if you like, whatever works for you. I find this works for me. I like this spoon. It's just the right size. And you just give it a good mix up in there. You want to beat these in until they're nice and creamy. Much air in there as you can. Like I said, you can use a hand mixer. I prefer this way. Once you get that going a little bit, you can also add your vanilla. You're going to need about a tablespoon of vanilla. Once that's done, you can add the orange zest. Get that in there. And the orange juice. It's starting to smell really good. That orange zest and the orange juice gives it just a little extra. You don't have to add it. That's actually optional. But it does give the cookie a really nice flavor and goes well with the chocolate and just gives it a little bit of an extra zing. But you can go with just the vanilla if you like. You don't really have to add it. I like adding it. It gives it a nice aroma. It gives it a nice taste. At this point, we're going to add 1/2 of our flour. We're going to take our baking soda, salt, and powder, and we're going to mix it in with the rest of our flour. Make sure it's incorporated in there really well. We're going to stir in just a little bit, and then we're going to add the rest of our flour slowly. Now at this point, I also like to add my chocolate before the dough gets too firm. This is not a drop cookie. This is not a cookie that's going to spread. These cookies, I've seen people try to make them and they're trying to spoon them out onto a tray just the way you would a regular chocolate chip cookie. That's not the way these are made. These are made, rolled out, and cut out. But before my dough gets too firm, I want to add my chocolate. These make a great cookie. I think you'll really enjoy making them. They're nice to have on hand. They're something a little different than your regular chocolate chip cookie. I like those as well, but occasionally I like to make these and switch things up. Now I'm going to add the rest of my flour. And get that all mixed in there really well. You want to make sure you get the bottom. At this point, I just like to do this. It's a little bit of a sticky dough, but you do want to make sure everything's incorporated. I'm going to need a touch more flour, so I'm just going to add just a touch more. Not too much. You don't want to go overboard with that. We are going to chill these before we roll them out. But you want the dough to be workable. Like I said, this is not a spread cookie. It's not a drop cookie. So as soon as you see that the dough is not sticking to both your mixing bowl and your hands that much, your dough is ready. So we added maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons more of flour in addition to what we originally had. A nice firm dough, but that's just perfect. I don't know if you can see the texture there. Knead that all in really well. That's just right. Now we're going to take that, just pat it down there in your bowl. We're going to cover that, and we're going to put it in the fridge to chill before we roll it for about half an hour, 45 minutes. Our dough's cooled and ready to go. We're ready to roll it out. We're going to take a little bit of flour. Use the flour sparingly. Just make sure it's well floured. I'm just going to take a little bit of dough and try to put my wax paper secure there so that it doesn't roll around on me. I've taken a large baking sheet and I've lined it with foil. And we're just going to take some of our dough. Here, take all of it actually. Sprinkle it with a little flour as well. I'm going to roll it out. Rolls out fairly easily. You can also just pat it down to the thickness you want. These are a thick cookie. You do want them to be on the thick side. Those huge chocolate chunks are a bit of a problem, so when you want to get rolling pin down there, so just press down and make sure you got an even cookie there. What I do is I cut the edges off so I have an even height. I'm going to incorporate that with the dough I have left over and roll that out. You can use either a plate, depending on how large you want them. You can use either a small plate or a bowl. My baking sheet is not huge, so what I'm going to do is use a bowl so I can get more than 2 cookies. Because when I make them really, really huge, I only get like 2 on the sheet. Like I said, the most critical part is making sure you have that thickness there and making sure that it's even throughout the cookies. So I'm going to cut out our first one. I like to pick it up with one of these. See? Oops, just so you have a better visual. We'll just put it on my baking sheet. I'm just going to cut off that excess there. Like I said, these are a great cookie. You can also just cut them out small, if you like. Got about 4 onto my baking sheet this way, as you can see. And I'm going to pop that in the oven. These cook really quickly. You really have to keep your eye on them. You'll see them begin to brown. You don't want these to brown. If you recall, the bakery style cookies are a nice light color. You don't want these to brown. They cook in 5 minutes, you're done. Make sure you start checking. As soon as you see the edges and on the bottom start to brown, you want to pull them out. 5 minutes tops. You can always put them back in if you feel they're underdone, but you don't want to overcook this cookie. You don't want to overwork the dough, and you don't want to overcook it. We're going to pop these in. We're going to cook them for about 5 minutes, and we'll pull them out and bake our second batch. Then I'm going to roll it out and get it ready. Get them cut out. I don't want to leave my cookies in too long, and I really don't want to leave my dough out too long either, so it doesn't warm back up. Like I said, you do want this rolled out fairly thickly, almost half an inch, depending on how thick you like your cookie. But they're not a thin cookie. They're not a thin cookie by any means. My last ones, if you have a little bit of scrap of cookie dough left, you can just press it down onto one of your other cookies. Try to blend it in there so that it does cook. And it doesn't show when it cooks. They're a very easy cookie dough to handle. As you can see, they slide right off and on your spatula. These are a great cookie. We got a total of 8 out of our batch at this size. You can make them smaller, you can make them larger, whatever you like. I got a total of 8 large cookies. I'm gonna pop these in the oven as well, give them 5 to 10 minutes, and come back with our finished cookies. Our second batch is out of the oven as well. They came out really nice. The color is just perfect. I don't know if you can see that. As you can see, you don't really want them to brown very much. The bottom edge is just beginning to turn brown, but the top is nice and light still, exactly the way these should be. They have a nice color on the bottom. The top, as I said, is nice and light as well. They are thoroughly cooked, even though they're nice and light and white. This is exactly what they should be. They came out beautifully. They're way too hot to eat just yet. So I'm going to transfer these to a wire rack as well. These are awesome cookies. You should really give them a try. I think you'll really enjoy them. If you like those bakery style cookies, these are fantastic. I did try to search out recipes for them, and like I said, the only recipes I did find were the ones where people are trying to make a classic chocolate chip cookie and spooning it out, and I didn't find anything like this. I was wondering why. I know I enjoy them. I know others that enjoy them. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think if this is a type of cookie that you do enjoy, or if there's not much of a demand for it. I did want to share this recipe though, because like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed these. So we're going to let them cool, and we're going to give them a taste test. They're just way too hot to try now. The chocolate is way too hot, tempting as it may be. They came out very nicely. Awesome tasting cookies. And sometimes a nice giant cookie is nice to have and munch on. I'm going to let them cool and we'll be back. Okay, our cookies are ready. They're nice and cool. I set them on a serving plate. The chocolate's still a little bit on the warm side, on the inside, but they're actually cool enough to handle, cool enough to set up on a plate at this point in time. Don't over brown them. I'm going to give one a quick taste test here. We got 8 large cookies out of this recipe. You'll get far more. If you make them smaller, you'll get less if you make them bigger. Very nice. Perfect ratio of chocolate to cookie. At least I think so. You can load them up more if you like. I've been guilty of doing that myself. I have put in more, but I find this is the perfect amount for this recipe. You have just enough chocolate and some cookie in there. The cookie itself has a nice texture to it. Has a nice crisp bottom, nice cookie texture throughout the cookie. It's not a soft, chewy cookie for the most part. They are when you first take them out of the oven, but they're far more enjoyable when you let them cool and sit. Really nice cookie. I hope you try them, I hope you enjoy them, and let me know what you think.